maybe this works better. I restarted my OBS studio. It seems to be acting up a little bit. Let's see if this works out. So, hello everyone. I'm a bit slow starting up. It's 9 a.m. in the morning here. I've got my coffee and I have a plan to work on stuff. So what you see here on the screen is my, well, you can see the Twitch chat here. And I have two terminal windows today, the pink one and the yellow one, and I have my Emacs window. So I'm working on, if you can see my little prompt here, it actually says which Git branch I'm in, and it's called Bagger MQTT, and it's my branch about MQTT, and that's why it's named it. So I'm no surprise working on MQTT today. I brought back an old patch that my brother wrote, Björn. So he actually did a PR with MQTT a while ago. Well, a pretty long while ago, maybe 6 months ago or so. And it's been closed since then because it sort of went out of date and started conflicting with other things. But I brought it back to life and I've been working on that, or sort of refreshing that patch and related stuff. So if this is on the right, I loaded my new mqtt.md. It's a markdown description of the MQTT stuff in curl I have right now. And it's, well, the emphasis on the top is really necessary because it's experimental and it's going to be experimental for a while then. So I'm bringing back the patch and I'm going to make sure that we can do basically what Björn did back then. These two example command lines here, they actually work, I think. But my primary work here isn't fixing Björn's patch, because the Björn's patch I think was pretty good. I just sort of refreshed it a little bit to get synced with current code. And wait a minute, coffee. Well, so that's not the problem here. But before, yeah, we could use some HTTP3 support stuff for the CMake build. That's a good idea. Someone who wants, there's a pretty detailed description in the HTTP3 markdown document on how to build it with configure. So that logic could basically, not copied, but you could get inspired by that logic and build that into the CMake build. So back to the MQTT then. So I want to make sure that the existing functionality gets some test cases, and once we have test cases, I can actually land it in master, because this is experimental. So you still have to enable it by sort of explicitly. I know where it's going to go ahead and interrupt. I like getting interrupted, and we can talk about anything. So as long as you have anything that is curl related, so bring it up. It's fun, and we can switch back and forth, whatever. I don't have to do anything particular right now. So I just wanted to mention that once I get my test cases working, and really the way I want to do test cases is that I'm implementing an MQTT server, which is sort of not really right. I'm doing it as simple as stupid as possible, and it doesn't have to be, it shouldn't really understand MQTT much, but it should be able to read and write responses in the way the test cases tell it to do. And once I can do that, I can land it, I can do a PR properly and make sure that things work, and then then we can do add more functionality perhaps, and we could also consider, as I mentioned here, replacing then the client-side implementation and maybe go with the library instead of doing it the native way, like right now. Possibly going then with Wolf MQTT for the MQTT binary stuff. Well, that's at least a possible way forward. So right now, I can show you. So right now, I can build, let's see here, I think I built it already. So you have to enable it in the build with this way. So enable MQTT in the build. Well, I enable a lot of other things as well. So when I check my local curl build, you can see it has a lot of things, but among the protocols it will mention MQTT, and there's no MQTT S either right now. It's mentioned as a current limitation here in the documentation, and I figured adding TLS to this mix should be fairly easy. But I'm I'm postponing that little thing. So I wanted to get the basic stuff going with the test server first. So we have MQTT as a server, as a protocol mentioned in the curl build, and in the test directory, being just the test directory in the curl source code, I can build everything there as well. I hadn't done that, so it'll build all the test stuff, which is quite a lot by now. So my machine is fairly fast, but it's still many years old by now. So if you have a modern machine, that should run faster. So right here now we can start the MQTT D server like this. Boom, and then we can run curl and get this command line then will connect to the local host MQTT server, and it'll send a subscribe for the, what's the terminology, topic, is it, subject, moo, and in this case it'll just I added trace here to just to get more data out from this early command line, and it looks like this. Boom. Weird server reply, yes, because the server is incomplete, and then if we check what the server did, it doesn't say anything, but if we check the server logs, we can see that, okay, I had some other old craft from yesterday, but here's running the IPv4 version on port 1883. Blah blah blah. So here's what MQTT looks like. It's read 26 bytes. That's a connect, MQTT connect thing from a client. So that's the client ID sent from the client. That's curl and 8 random hexadecimals. And the server responds with 4 bytes, and those are actually fixed. It'll always respond with those, I think. And then here's the subscribe request coming in from the client. As you can see, it's fully binary, the protocols. It's just this blurb. So and the server knows for the moment that this is a subscribe, and you know I'm not very good at the protocol itself. I mean this MQTT thing. So I have a little. What do I have? I have a MQTT protocol spec somewhere. I'll just bring it over to the let me see here, Firefox. There it is. Okay, and this is zoomed out. Let's zoomed in. I mean zoomed out. So here's the MQTT spec, MQTT 3.11. I'm looking at what do I look at? Subscribe. Topic is the term. Subscribe to topics. So MQTT isn't really a perfect match for the curl concept. It's not exactly uploads and downloads, but we can pretend almost that it works. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to pretend that when you do a get or just get a URL, it will ask for subscribe on a topic and get that topic, and vice versa. If you send a post, we'll do a, what's it called, publish. Morning, Mark. So anyway, since I'm such a MQTT rookie, I have this protocol spec to watch, and also I'm doing this in sort of a backwards way at the same time, because I know that Björn wrote this client, and I know he tested it against something, so I know that his code is roughly working. I say roughly because I'm sure that there are some sort of corners to polish off and so on, but so I can look at his code. Here's a subscribe packet, subscribe, blah 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 blah, and the topic, and that's what he sends. So my server side, being my MQTT D server here, maybe I should switch them around. So okay, let's do, so the pink and the server code is on the upper halves, and the client output is the yellow terminal and the lower Emacs window. So yeah, this is the client code, and the top code is the server code. So here's the MQTT subscribe message coming into the server, and I'm just going to make it accept that. No, I'm going to respond with something, and here comes the little tricky part. Then I'm going to make sure that we do MQTT pretty much the same way we do with HTTP tests. So we should subscribe to a number somehow, and that number will equal the test case. So figuring out the number, then load that particular test case data and respond according to what's in that test case. Right. Okay. So there's a subscribe, and you can see here there are 6 bytes, and then a topic, and it's 0 terminated as well. So okay. Diving in. So I'm running this server and the client like this standalone first, because I wanted to make sure that we can do, when I can do just a very basic mock-up subscribe of MQTT, then I can start working on converting that into making sure that the test suite can use the server, and I can write a test case in the curl test suite for that particular setup. And once I have that, I'm in a pretty good position. Then I think I can start thinking of doing a first pull request with this. And the early pull requests are really good to just make sure that I fix all the breakage that sort of occurs in all the different builds or different environments that I didn't really think about when I did the initial one. Because I do all my initial stuff on Linux, basically. So therefore, I don't have any PR with this yet. So there's nothing really to point to here. There is an old MQTT. We could check that up first, of course. There's an old PR that I'm basing this on, and it's an closed one. As I mentioned, that's written by my brother Björn. Here it is, 3514. So if you wanted to look at it, that's the one. And that's the one I'm basing my work on. It's from, where is it? January 2019, so it's a little over a year old. So I got that code, started, I rebased that, refreshed it, and polished that, and I'm building on that. So that's where I am. Back to my Emacs world. Okay, subscribe. Going full screen mode in just so I have a payload. So if it's not message subscribe, then not supported yet. I don't aim at having the server being a good server for anything, for any other purposes than just serving test cases for curl's MQTT support. So I have no ambition of making it sort of a good server in any ways other than just make sure that it verifies curl. It's not going to be an MQTT server for anyone to use for anything. Payload. I gotta bring the other code back. Payload. Yeah, but I wanted to squeeze in more things on the screen, right? So I'm actually I'm doing this. Yeah, I think you need to enlarge your video window, right? Because I didn't want to make the fonts larger because then I get a problem to fit as much stuff on the screen that I want to. It should still be in full HD, at least the stream, so you should, yeah. No, this is not right either. This is just yeah, and well, and as I mentioned before, and usually what you see in the stream is not what I actually have on my screen, right? So I'm sort of moving my windows over to the screen to the streaming sort of obs what it streams. So I'm trying to make sure that I get stuff in the stream that looks good in the stream. So it's from my personal viewing, I think it looks good for me, but okay. You can just get with a sort of spirit. You don't have to read all the bytes. But here, the packet LAN is packet LAN. Okay, it's a topic +7 when it writes, because it writes the topic in a 0 termination byte. Yeah, I think if you want to actually follow the code and watch the read what's in my terminals, I think you need a pretty big window. I mean, I have them pretty big. Yes, I have them pretty big too. I have a 27-inch, and I'm actually using these two terminal windows on top of each other as they're shown on the stream, but they're almost the full height. Right. Okay. Payload LAN. It says 8 when I sent move. Is that correct? Right, because it's -2. So I got 8. It's at 8s, and it's actually 10. Okay, so payload length. If let's do like this. If payload length not equals or C, because that's what is, so that it should equal 10 bytes, and it was 10 bytes that it read, and if it's not 10 bytes, it's wrong. What's the terminology in the wrong packet len got expected something like that. Go to end. Okay, so now I verify the size of the packet, and then we have this packet ID. Packet ID. I'm now looking, also sort of trying to also browse here. Packet identifier. More information about packet identifier 231. 231. Yeah, I feel like a complete protocol rookie when it comes to MQTT. I don't know much about it. Go-tos are useful and practical. Packet identifier. Yeah, so it's basically just an ID for what we're sending, I think, to match reply. So okay, it's just an ID and it's 2 bytes. So let's just, right now we just skip it, right? Back to this one, 2 bytes packet ID, and then there is 2 bytes topic length, and those. The interesting part is that it's both prefixed with the length, and then it is 0 terminated, and the topic is even supposed to be UTF-8, I believe. So I think we could do strlen on it, but let's double check it anyway. So we do, let's call it topic len for, and it's in a buffer 4, shifted 8 steps, and a buffer 5, or buffer 5. That's the topic len. That's the, in my case, I sent move. That's the topic. Doesn't work when I don't run my server. Good. Topic length. And I need to verify that the topic length is fine as well. Topic length has to be smaller than payload length, and remove the headers from it. And that's, what is that, 6 bytes, right? 7 bytes. Has to be, if it's larger than payload -7. Wrong topic length. Got topic length. And again, back to this particular code, I don't have ambitions for the server code doesn't have to be perfect or nice or very good. It's here to make sure that curl works, and that's its purpose. It doesn't have, we're not going to ship this. It's not going to be used in production anywhere. It's not going to be used for anything sort of sensible. It's here to make sure that curl can behave correctly. So I'm going to make it stupid and simple, and I'm going to make it possible for us to write test cases that make sure that the server behaves correctly and misbehaves in controlled ways, so that we can sort of verify that curl behaves correctly in good ways, and I mean when the server is good and when the server is bad. That's why I'm writing my own. Otherwise I could get one of the existing MQTT sort of servers. There are many open source ones, but going with a full-fledged real implementation, that's huge. I've tried that before. It just ends up getting a lot of work, and you have to strip out too much, and there are a lot of things. I'm going with this approach now. So it still, of course, doesn't work because we still don't do anything on the server side. So incoming subscribe is still, but okay, we didn't get any new errors at least. We verify the topic length, and then we need to get the topic. Well, there's a lot of, here's the basic libcurl code. How many gotos are there? $278. Yes, we have quite a few gotos in the curl code. But again, I think curl, a goto is actually a pretty handy way to do things. You have to just be careful to do it correctly and sort of make sure that things are done right. But the alternatives to goto is usually even worse when well, maybe not usually, but many times it's worse, at least when writing C code. So sure, gotos might be bad in many cases, but in many cases it's also very good and convenient. So okay, we got the topic length here, and now I'm going to, and we know that the topic is actually 0 terminated as well. Is that in the spec, or is it because we did it like that? Subscribe. There it is. Payload contains a list of topic filters. Topic filters in a subscribe page must be UTF encoded strings. Yeah, so it must be UTF-8. But right, according to section 153, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't have to be 0 terminated, I think. I think the curl thing does it like that. I wonder if that is a good idea. I'm sure I'll be educated about that soon when someone tries this against a real MQTT thing. Okay, let's I wonder if there's a length restriction. I didn't see anything. Two bytes, that's 60, probably you can, yeah, you can use the full size there, so I better just thinking here. 64K. 64K topic. Okay. I'll make it like this for now. Static topic max topic length. And then let's copy the entire thing, mem copy from buffer at index 6 to topic and I don't have to check that it fits because the buffer will fit the largest possible one. Right. Maybe I should add 1 byte and then I can zero terminate it. Topic len 0. Type defaults to int. Oh, that was stupid. Topic. Let's log that. Subscribe to whatever it is topic. So and let's run the server and run the client test. We haven't changed the client. I need to stand in the correct directory. Boom. Still doesn't work. Subscribe to. I did something wrong. And that's because I did mem copy in the wrong order. Try again. Hello, icing 0. Now let's see if I can get the right topic out of it. Subscribe to Moo. Yes. Okay. How do we respond to one of those things? Okay, let me make up a hard-coded response just to see if I can make curl happy with a response. Oh, there's a sub ACK. Of course. So searching in my subscribe acknowledgement. I'm back again here looking at the spec. Subscribe acknowledgement sent by the server to the client to confirm receipt and processing of a subscribe packet. Fixed header, control byte type 9. Where am I? Here's the server. I have some defines at the top here. Con ACK, it should be define MQTT SUBACK. Right. No, I mean this server is actually much more simple. Since it's basically just another TCP server. We have a lot of those. This is the same one. We have a SOC server, we have the SWS HTTP server, we have a bunch of servers, and this is just doing the same simple TCP style server thing. Right. Well, yeah, if we fix things portably that needs to be used by more than one test server, we can of course, I mean, as long as you fix that once and we know what it is, then we can of course make sure that all servers are using the proper portability dance. But in this case, I'm pretty sure that this server will have the same it will have the same portability sort of properties like SWS and the HTTP server and the SOX server. I wrote a SOX test server, it wasn't that long ago, right? So and that works pretty good. The SOX, isn't it SOX? No, it's in the server. SOX. Is it SOX D? Yeah, that one. I can't even spell it. SOX D. That's the one. It's not that long ago, I say, but it's, yeah, a year ago. Well, a year ago. What's a year between friends, right? So yeah, it wasn't that long ago, just a year ago. And then I wrote that SOX D, and this is very much in the same spirit. Basically, yeah, but the SOX D one is used for all the SOX tests, and I think all the SOX tests are running pretty good on all platforms, even Windows. Since it's also based on the same just basic TCP functionality like the SWS server, and now this server, and I think we have a few other servers too like that. Maybe not. Yeah, the TFTP server is also, but that's not TCP. Or TSP. Yeah. Oh well. So I think this is going to work out fine portability-wise. I'm actually also I'm thinking of making this new server, MQTT server, a new test child for my new idea of not specifying the port number and making sure that it just binds to any port number that it finds available, and it writes down that port number in a file, and then the test suite, kernel test suite, will just figure out what port it uses and you go with that port. So avoid fixed port number completely, which should be good for tests, the test suite in general, and I want to actually move all our test servers to that approach in the future, so that they would just get an available port number and we could use that port number instead of going with a fixed one, because then we can run better on more machines, and especially if you run more than one test that sort of on the same machine, or machines that runs other weird services on the port numbers that we would otherwise run our test servers on. Anyway. Okay, where am I? So okay, I got that subscribe thing. That's the I added the SUBACK define. And see, my brother, he took some shortcuts here. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm saying this. So right now I'm actually having a duplicate set of defines in the curl code as in the server code, because I didn't want them to share stuff right now at least. Maybe I'll switch to that at some other point. MQTT message SUBACK. Okay, so here we can see the curl side when it gets a SUBACK. It's interesting why they had to call it SUBACK and not just subscribe ACK or whatever, but that's what it is. They use very sort of lengthy terms in all other aspects, except when they make the names of the packages. Then they use very short names instead. The SUBACK, subscribe. So we already I made a CONACK function. So I'm going to make the similar one for CONACK, but now I'm going to make CONACK being when the client connects to the server, it actually sends a connect packet, and the server sends ACK, you're connected, and that's the CONACK. And here's the SUBACK, that's the ACKs, the subscription request. Not entirely sure why they have ACKs for this, but it doesn't matter. They have, and we'll work with that. SUBACK. Number 3. What's the 3 here? The 3. I'm looking into the spec again here. I don't know what the 3 is. I know what it is. It's the length of the rest of the packet. So this is the packet ID, and then it's supposed to end with a 0. So it should be unsigned short packet ID, and that should be packet ID 8 and packet ID of that. And we'll probably get some warnings about this, but still. And then we'll send that packet and route packet ID, yep. And again, if you're just tuning in right now, this is my new MQTT code. Or and the top half here is the server code, and the bottom is the client code, and the yellow is so both lower parts are the clients, and both upper parts are the servers. Well, terminal output and code. So subscribe. If everything looks fine, we do a SUBACK and FD and packet ID. Now we see here I need to get the packet ID. Packet ID. Packet ID. Let's also output the packet ID in my little log here. It'll be useful when debugging this going forward. So packet ID is sub. Let's act the packet ID. And I'm just going to do it like this. If it returns a failure, abort. So possibly this will respond correctly to a subscribe. We don't have any. Yeah, this is Indian agnostic actually. So packet ID, because the bytes arrive in this order, right? And you can always shift 8 steps to get them higher. So this is, on the contrary, this is Indian agnostic. So this will work with both big Indian and little Indian. And really, all these things I should probably make as a function or a macro or something instead of repeating it everywhere. But I can make that. Can work on making it more beautiful once I get it to work. And here we see the warning I expected. Conversion from int to may change value. Yes, exactly. That's sort of the point here. I'm sure. Yeah, so unless, I mean, I might of course do something wrong somewhere, but unless I'm screwing something up, this should work fine for whatever Endian we use. And I'm thinking about it, we don't run any CI builds on big Endian machines, which is unfortunate. But yeah, big Endian is going really rare these days. Okay, conversion from int to short unsigned. May change value. Sure, you're right, it might, but I don't care. Not like that either. So what happens now? Run the server. Kick off the server like that. Run the client. Boom. Send data. What did it do? Subscribe to Moo. Wrote 5 bytes. So yeah, now at least it sends the ACK. And I'm having a little bit of a problem to do this, you know, how when we log stuff verbose mode in curl, we separate headers from data, and so I'm having a little bit of a problem to figure out how to log these packages, MQTT packages in curl, since they're not really headers, but they're certainly not data. So I haven't really made up my mind how to do it. So right now they're actually logging this as data, while it's not actually, it's not the body or the payload, it's more like headers. So anyway, I have this new alias B for building curl, because I type it so often, so now I resorted to just have a single letter alias, and it's actually B. It just makes this, it runs make -c in the curl, and I've decided to use -j6, so just make sure that it doesn't actually use all the cores, because it makes it better when I stream, because otherwise the video sometimes gets a little choppy because it uses all the cores to build. Okay, so something. All right. Data wasn't really available there. No. 259. Ah. 2 places. Oh, right. Risk that is that big endian? Risk 5. I mean, I bet they can do it both ways, but I figured. Do you know? Is it big or is it small? A little endian. What's interesting is that most protocols are still done in what they call network byte order, right? Even Quick is done in network byte order. And network byte order is big endian, basically. So most protocols, binary-wise, you still have to change it back and forth. And it was debated for the Quick because, again, everything these days is little endian. So it always comes up this debate: should we switch our network protocols to little endian instead to sort of get away with a lot of byte switching? But tradition is strong, so Quick is also done with network byte order, which is big endian. Yeah, I know. I could actually change obs to use higher nice level, probably, or lower. But it's also just easy to just. I use my alias anyway to build now, so it's easy to just set it to. It's roughly the equivalent. And should my video become a little choppy, it's not a big deal either. It's just my face. And usually, even if I would scroll in a terminal or anything, it doesn't matter if it's a little jittery or whatever. Okay, this was not good enough, apparently. Receive data. Oh, okay, so here is the... well, yes, it is an RFC type of thing, and it's also a sort of tradition. We did things in the network byte order back, well, since forever, basically. So the network byte order is more of a thing. That's how we send binary numbers in network protocols. So no, I think it's I don't remember if it's in an RFC, but it's, if you try this, network to host long, and to convert values between host and network byte order, right? So there's a bunch of functions to do these conversions, and that's how we do. We do it in a bunch of protocols, like even in IP and TCP and everywhere. So it's a long established tradition. That's how we transfer binary numbers in network protocols. So it's been like this, well, since a very long time. And I mean, well, this confirms is confirming to POSIX, and POSIX is a modern thing here. I'm sure this existed long before POSIX even existed and was considered. Byte order. Yep, yeah, exactly. That's the same man page. Okay, I got the SUBACK in the client, so now we're getting closer. So I'm back in where am I? That's not, well, right. I got the SUBACK here. I'm sending it SUBACK, and then after the SUBACK, I'm going to go back and read again. Get something. I'm not sure exactly what I'm getting. Stop the server. I actually think byte. I think the byte order was made like this because in the beginning, when this was made, pretty much everything was big endian. So I think it was more. Uh, I mean, Intel sort of was the first major processors to go little endian, and a lot of others were already there before that. So I think Motorola and all the others, they were big endian back then. So I think network byte order happened to become big endian because most of the CPUs were big endian back then. That's my theory, but I actually don't know it. So if I run the server and I ask for it, right, now it doesn't do anything. Well, it's waiting for something. Let's see what the log said. It read 0 bytes. So, okay. Shouldn't read anything. Remove the reading again. Remove. It's a directory. Remove, rebuild, rerun. Okay, and we run the. That's not modified, right? And right now my check source invoke takes this long because I have enabled copyright year change, copyright year range validation in my check sourcing, so they're rather slow. Anyway, so it still says weird server reply. Why does it say that? Let's check it out. We get 5 bytes back. That's we verify the SUBACK, which I think is this function, SUBACK, and then it should do subwait. Which is it waits for something to get published on that topic. Cool. I have gremlins in my house. Now my entire house is full of people, random people. Now, so if you if you hear random stuff around here, over there, yeah, that's my daughter's room, and she's having class right now in her school from home here. So yeah, I hope you don't get too disturbed by the noise, but my mic is usually pretty good at not revealing the background noise, but most of my voice noise instead. Anyway, that's how it is these days, right? So my wife is downstairs working, my daughter is here in her room. So, and as you can see, my camera is sort of directed like this. My home office is like in this big general room between all the other rooms here on my top floor in my house. So actually, so when my kids come up here on the top floor of my house, they have their rooms over here, there. And and I have my stair over here, so they sort of have to pass by me behind me. So when they get here, or they want to go and do something downstairs in the kitchen, perhaps they will pass in the background. It's a bit different here now, since I'm usually alone working here, but nowadays we're more people working here, so it's a little bit more crowded. So I need to do a publish now, since curl now sends a subscribe, it gets a subscribe ACK, and now it'll sit there and wait for a publish from the server on that topic that it asks for. So how do we do that? I have no idea. Publish. So again, back. I'm reading Björn's code here. What does it expect to get on a publish? Allocate enough for a short message. That seems like a pretty fine and naive approach. 130 bytes. Okay. Read. If it's a publish. If quality of service is set, message contains packet ID. Okay. Decode length, reallocate a bigger buffer if necessary. Okay, well that's cool. So it reallocates and then it reads the rest of the packet. Morning, F. Jiva or Frank. Okay, it's also a pretty naive approach to do it, but okay, let's keep the naive approach for now. So it basically just makes sure that it reads the entire thing, and here it writes the entire thing to the callback. So here it handles the data. So I just need to make sure that I send a publish from in the server. Okay, how hard can that be? I have no idea really, but let's check it out. Boom, 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 boom. Publish message. Control bytes. QoS level, retain a lot of details here. Okay, fine. I'm taking shortcuts. So publish on this file descriptor, this packet ID, maybe I should pass in the topic as well. So let's make a publish function as simple and as silly as possible. Publish topic. And here I can probably not do a packet like this, because now it can become really big. Packet head. So this is publish. And then it's it checks, here's a bit, if the right, it checks the quality of service bits. So what am I supposed to send? Let's not send any quality of service right now. To do QoS bits. and it decodes packet length. Right. We don't know that. Anyway, packet length, and then it sends and then it's basically the topic. Right, so it gets the topic. Yep, it gets the topic back first in the pack. So the publish is a topic, and then the what they call it. What do they call it? Topic and payload. Okay. So it can become quite a big message actually, since they can be 64K each, right? So topic and payload can then, so we can have 130K response. At least. And then I bet we can send many more publishes if we want to. So I will. How do I know the top? Don't know the length here. So size t topic len is. Maybe I need to do this differently, but I'll do it like this now. It's not public, it's publish. Okay, that's the topic length, and I need to also need to have a payload, and I don't have any payload right now, so I'll just, this is random payload. Yes, it is. Payload len. So I'll just make a fixed payload response first, and then if I can make curl happy with that, I will replace this with reading the payload from the test case instead, if possible. So I will just do a packet allocation for topic len and pay. What do I use? Underscore one and not the other one. Payload len plus header. And how much is a header? I don't know. 10 bytes. If not, packet return 1. Can't spell anything there. Okay. So now I need to verify it's 10 bytes extra right now. So packet 0, I mean index 0. That's the MQTT message publish. And now it doesn't set any QoS bits. Packet 1. Right, and then it sets this could be packet ID if QoS packet ID if QoS is set. Packet 1 is the topic. And if I'm not, it's not like that, right? I have to, it's not topic 1, that's topic 3, because packet 1 is then topic len, like this. And I should probably also write some sort of function or macro for doing this, because this also gets repetitive and done on numerous places. So yes, I will store the topic, first the topic length, and then the topic, and then I'm sure it'll be the I'll just do like this, payload index. It'll be sort of slightly more readable if I do payload index is 3 plus topic len. Payload index plus 1, and then payload index plus 2. Payload len. Okay, and it shouldn't be topic len, it should be payload. Okay, so now I write, it shouldn't be size of packet, it should be size t packet len. It's actually just 3 bytes extra, possibly 5 bytes extra. And then I will send packet len here. Okay. What do we think about that? Might work. It logs it, wrote, blah blah blah. Publish. Wrote. I'll just add some extra info in this. Wrote. SUBACK. Publish. There. How many mistakes? Wrong find. Okay. Size t, conversion from size t to int. Really doesn't matter, but okay. Integer comparison. S size T and size T. Packet ID, unused parameter, yes. Me and my underscores. Okay, there it builds. What happens? Run the server, run the client. Boom, aha! Do you see? It didn't end with an error, it actually success. 23. It did end with an error. Now this is Emacs on the right side, and you see, and yes, I'm an Emacs guy. Okay, we received data here. Okay, so it's just binary outputs. It doesn't want to send it to this terminal, so let's send it to a file. Call it dump. Oh, well, now it can't send anything because the server doesn't restart. So okay, let's try again. Boom. Nope. Ooh, that's completely wrong. So, okay. What a mess. Oh, right. Yeah, OpenSSL released 1.1.111F just yesterday, right? The 1.1.1e wasn't such a happy release from the OpenSSL team. We got this unexpected end of message sort of error, common error from that release, and well, that's fun. We have a bug report on that. We closed it since OpenSSL considered that to be their bug, but really they didn't fix it in their master branch. So that particular thing, if it bit you in the 1.1.1e, chances are the problem is going to come back in version 3, because the OpenSSL team still thinks it's the right way, and I sort of agree with them, because it's when you close the TLS without this, the server closes the connection without properly signaling that in the protocol first, which is pretty much a sort of a possibly a truncation error. You could also then, you wouldn't notice if the connection is closed without the server knowing it. Anyway, they fixed that in that release, so we won't see it right now, but I'm sure it'll come back and haunt us in the future instead. So I did something wrong here. The client was not happy at all with it. Is it because I did the decode the length wrong? Yes, I think so. Exactly, yeah. They sort of they backpedaled on that and said we shouldn't do this change in the 1.1.1 because it's a stable release and that shouldn't happen. But they want the change to happen, so they modified the 1.1.1 and reverted that, and that's why the F release. But they still want the change to happen, so it'll happen. At least that's what they discussed in that in the issue. So the change is still in there in the master branch. So if you build OpenSSL from master, the version 3 dev track basically, then you will get that thing back again. And really, that's how a lot of other TLS libraries already work. So it's usually a sign of a silly server when you get that error. But of course, it's not a big help to know that, sure, it's a silly server, but when you get the problem in your lab, it's still your problem. Yeah, I think sometimes, especially the OpenSSL team, they seem to be really ignorant about how the real world, about HTTP actually and HBS actually works. So they basically, a lot of them seem to say, well, this shouldn't happen in properly implemented servers, so go ahead. And everyone should test everything before they ship anyway. And they don't seem to understand that the problem is in the other side, right? So it's this, you can test everything you want, but if the other side closes their connections prematurely and don't send this close notify message, what do? I'm pretty sure when they ship this, a lot of clients are just going to add some sort of workaround for, yeah, this error will happen every once in a while, and we will just ignore that error. If they return an error, then that's unfortunate. Or maybe if they're good and everything turns out the better way, that error will sort of make some pressure for those still running that kind of servers to fix their server ends instead. I don't know. I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to old server admins fixing their servers, because they're old and not fixed already because of some reason, probably because they were sort of forgotten or abandoned a long time ago, and OpenSSL suddenly returning error for them is not going to make them fix this, because the browsers already inhibit this problem and they ignore it and they don't show it because it's so prevalent. So the browsers sort of won't show it. So why would they fix their servers just suddenly because OpenSSL decides to return an error for them? I don't know. Ideally and hopefully they will, but I'm a bit of a pessimist there. Yeah, and at the same time, I mean, I can't tell them how to run OpenSSL and what's the right thing for OpenSSL to do. I mean, they run their project and they do it pretty good these days. So I'm sure that they will go with what is best for OpenSSL, and we will just have to adapt and live with it. So I think I messed up my packet length thing here, and I'm pretty sure because when I look at this code, it uses this decode length because MQTT has this variable length, in sort of encoder thing that you can specify the length in 1, 2, 3, or 4 bytes, and I think that might be what's used here, and so maybe I didn't do that correctly. So I'm now scrolling through here. Topic name. Oh, it's not? Oh, yeah. We still maintain C89, C90 compatibility in curl. Again, for portability reasons, because of there are a lot of legacy servers and a lot of platforms. And I mean, okay, C99 is probably pretty well supported nowadays, so maybe going to C99 will be an option one day. But there aren't that many features in C99 that we really want and need, so we're sort of holding back on that. So let's stick to this for a while longer, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I always run with picky compiler options that make sure that my code is, well, my builds are always C89 clean. So I actually think that we've had a few mistakes, but it should be very few. Yeah, it should run on POSIX, and it should even actually run fine on build fine on pre-POSIX systems. And we build on quite a lot of semi-POSIX systems too, right? Or we are the real-time operating systems with just, POSIX emulation layers that are only not completely POSIX, but almost sort of. I think portability-wise, curl is pretty decent. So I'm looking here, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. That's good. I should have my curl t-shirt on me today, but I don't, and you barely don't see my t-shirt anyway. Okay. So while I am back to this, remainder length, and it decodes it. So ooh, I'm actually not very. I mean, you know, I'm such a traditionalist here, so I'm actually not keeping up exactly what C11 or C18 contains to make sure to even know what to do. Actually, there's one thing, and I'm going. I have, and you're gonna love this because I have one little thing that in I think it's C11 that brings the underscore atomic keyword. And that's, I think, that's the only thing right now that I've figured out that we might actually benefit quite a lot from. So, but I'm going with a conditional on that. So if you build with a C11 compiler in the future, you might actually get a curl to use the atomic thing. So to make sure that, I mentioned it before, the curl global init function, and I want to make it properly thread safe. And I really need, without knowing what kind of threading or mutex availability you have on your system, I need an atomic counter, and C11 has an atomic counter. So going forward, I'm pretty sure I will have a conditional thing that if you build with a C11 compiler in the future, you will get an atomic, and then you might get a thread safe curl global init function. And without a C11 compiler, you won't do that. But and that's actually that's the only way I have figured out how to do that without, you know, resorting to even uglier workarounds. So I haven't landed that, and I have a patch for it. So I think I will go that route, but it's not decided yet. Otherwise, I like C99s, you know, name the struct fields when you initialize structs, and also using variables when setting up arrays as as local variables. So they have, I think C99 has some few fancy things that we could benefit, that actually makes the code slightly more readable and fine. But again, if we've managed this far and this good on C89, C90, I think we can just as well just stick to it for another decade. Well, if you look at my screen, or what you don't see my screen, you see a number of windows from my screen, so you don't really see the desktop. You see a photograph from wood in the background and selected terminals and stuff from my screen. So I actually run a KDE Plasma on Linux, but it doesn't really show. It could be whatever. Well, the terminals you see, the pink one and the yellow one, they are console terminals, the KDE console. But I decided, and I've learned, that it's better for me and better for you if I don't show you my screen, because it's so messy, and it gets too easy for me to reveal things I don't want to reveal if I show you the entire screen. So I just show you selected windows and make sure that I keep focus on those. So I'm looking at this publish message here in the MQTT publish thing here, publish message, and it has this. I'm not a fan of this document, this protocol spec. It says remaining length, fix header. remaining length, but the remaining length is not necessarily a single byte here. I think this is this variable length encoded thing, I think, and I wanted to, this is the length of variable header plus the length of the payload. No, I think it's byte 2 is this top one is byte 1. So byte 1 is the 8 bits on top, and byte 2 is, so yeah, it is at least a single byte. And I think it's yes, exactly. The first byte is have 4 fixed bits and 4 variable bits. So the first byte is only is the. It seems that MQTT has this set up that the first byte is sort of the message, what message it is, but only the top 4 bits are used for the actual control packet type, and then the lower 4 bits are for random other things. So, and this published then is the 4 upper bits are actually, well, 3 here then. So, and all of those messages seem, so if you just scroll to another con ACK, we can see the top 4 bits, and then the lower 4 bits are reserved. They're not actually the packet type, so they're only the top 4 bits that are. So yeah, so in the published thing here, yeah, they have other bits that are used, so they're dup, QoS, and retain, and I'm setting them to 0 right now, but QoS I believe we might want to set, I don't know, but I'm thinking I've done this length bit wrong. Length byte, I think it's a length of variable header. Because back to the top here somewhere, remain here, look, remaining length, it's the number of bytes remaining within the current packet, blah blah blah, does not include, is encoded using a variable length encoding scheme. There it is. So that's my mistake. That's how you do it. So as long as we're below 128, we can do it in a single byte. Okay. I should do a length encoder somehow. Should I? Yeah. Okay. Let's do the. Where am I? Publish is my function. I'm not aware. I know that people are building Apache with wolfSSL, and because I know my fellow colleagues worked on it, and I know they blogged about it, that they shipped that. They have enough of the OpenSSL API in the compatibility layer, so you can do it. But I don't know, and I don't know who is doing it, or I'm not sure. I think it was a paid contract even, so I think someone paid for it to happen. But I don't. As I said, I don't know who's doing it. I know more and more people are actually expanding the OpenSSL API for wolfSSL. So more and more open source projects can actually build with wolfSSL instead of OpenSSL, if you want to, but just by using the wolfSSL OpenSSL compatibility layer. Yeah, so it should just work. I think you need to be. I think you need to make sure that you build wolfSSL with the proper flags, because I think, and I'm not sure if they enable everything by default. You might they have a lot of, you know, switches to toggle on and off things in the build. So you can, and you should just make sure that you toggle enough things on to make that possible. So I did this wrong. This is packet 1 here is remaining length, basically. I suppose they do in the, I mean, in their, I don't know, in their OpenSSL API compatibility. I'm sure they do all sorts of things to be compatible with the OpenSSL API. I haven't used it myself for a long time. That's actually my first port to the precursor to WolfSSL. I used their OpenSSL compatibility layer, but that was like 10 years ago, and back then it wasn't really good, so I gave that up and then switched to their native API instead. So I don't know. I know that it's been worked on a lot recently, and they keep on polishing it, so I know that it's getting better and better, and they support hundreds of functions of the OpenSSL API. And the OpenSSL API is huge! That's sort of a never-ending work, I guess, to support that. But I don't know I don't know the details about it. But you go ahead and try it and file issues and report your success to the team, and I'm sure that they will get back and work on it. So I'm looking at this variable length encoding thing in remaining length. Yeah, there are all sorts of stupid things done. So, so packet length, it's that big, and the remaining length is, I'm gonna do it like this. Rem length could be up to 4 bytes, so I'm going to do 4-byte buffer, and I'm going to do encode length packet len in this buffer. Yeah, the API, the OpenSSL API is massive. So encode length, and that's the length, and that's the buffer. And now I need to figure out how it works. And packet length is size t packet length. That's the buffer, and the buffer is 4 bytes. 4 bytes, because it can't be bigger than 4 bytes anyway. We can encode. How much can we encode? 268 millions. And now I'm trying to read this description. The algorithm for encoding a non-negative integer. And here it is. I'm going to paste it. Boom. Hey, it's not Badger, it's misspelled Badger, so I'm uniquely disqualified from typing English words. It actually, I actually wanted a nickname back when I worked on Commodore 64 back in the 80s, and I wanted a cool nickname, and I wanted it to actually to be the animal. So I wanted to, well, it should be Badger, but I misspelled it and used it as Bagder instead. And since then I'm stuck to the misspelled version. It makes it a little bit more unique. So I just kept it. And so I'm basically, I used it on all over things. I usually pick that as my nickname for all services like GitHub or Twitter or whatever. I didn't pick it for the Twitch username for some reason. But anyway, yeah, exactly. But then that just shows that you're dyslexic enough like me. But it's actually sort of an easy mistake to do, right? And G and D just missed. So I get that a lot. So hi, Dennis. So okay, xmod encoded byte xmod. Packet len. Okay, I better. It should return number of bytes used, so that we encode. Thank you. You know, it is that's sort of common mistake when I get into it. So I forget what I'm showing and what I'm not showing. So yes, I copied that algorithm into a comment here, so that I could just read the comment and write my code here underneath and see that I'm following that description. So I encode the packet length. I remain the mod 128 and then packet length I divide with 128. And then if packet len is larger, is still something, right, and then encode is then we OR the top byte on it. If it's more data left, and then we can rem length encode. And this, of course, will go boom if we try to encode a too large value. This can encode up to 200. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I should just go with that. Len. If it's larger than, I'm trying to copy from my spec here. Boom. It's a very specific number. this is pretty much an internal error, so this shouldn't happen. So I'm not too concerned about that. I'm just making sure that at some point maybe we might hit that by mistake. Bytes. well, the number comes from the spec, and it's because the encoding. So the spec actually says like this. Here, it says it has this table here, right? So it says from digits up to blah 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 260. So I just copied this one. So and it's not that beautiful, but it's only in the server here, so I think it's fine. Yeah, it's they're right. It doesn't set. So if the top bit is set, it means that there's another byte, right? So it'll leave the top bit from the last byte. So that's how we know when it reaches the end of the encoded length. If there's no top bit set, that's the final byte. Apparently, I don't know why they did it like that, but. I should say that this is encode length. We get the packet length, we encode it in the buffer. Encoded then. That is actually maybe not. Packet length is not. Remaining length is topic. Oops. Topic length plus payload length. I think it's topic length plus 2. Is it? I don't know. Now I'm getting confused here. The variable header. All right. I actually don't think I need to send any payload links because I think that's sort of inferred because we already said. Remaining length. Rem buffer. Seems like a better name. Rem buffer. And it actually struck me, I'll do like this instead. So instead of doing that comparison with a hard-coded number, I'm going to make sure that if bytes is larger than 4, then we larger than 3 actually, because it's an index, right? Okay, then we avoid the hard-coded check. So we just make sure that we don't store more than 4 bytes. Okay. Then we have that, we have packet length, which is now remaining length plus encoded len. Payload index, and then we copy the payload. Oops. Okay, I need to copy the remaining size buffer with encoded len number of bytes. We skip the quality of service, and then we must add the encoded length on this. Encoded length plus topic length plus encoded length. Maybe. We don't store the payload length anywhere. So, okay. Okay. Do we think this is the right one? Ah. Static. Now it's going to complain on my encoded. Right, I need to do a size t packet len to packet. This is and there's 3, 1 packet type, 2 topic length bytes. Yeah, where did I learn that? You know, I've been doing this for so long. So, well, I didn't learn it in school anyway. I didn't learn it in any courses. I learned programming myself a long time ago, and started basic, then assembly, and then I learned Pascal in school, and then I learned basic in school, and then I sort of, based on that, I started looking at C code, and I trained myself with C code on my own, pretty much reading Mount pages and other people's code back in the early 1990s. And then I read books on the topic afterwards, but I don't have any typical, I don't have anything to advise on that. I've never read a C book really, or algorithm book. I sort of glanced them afterwards. I know I have some books about sort of algorithms and stuff, but so I'm really bad at getting advice from when it comes to learning these things, other than that is good to have a problem that you want to solve and a task you want to do, and that's sort of as a motivation to work on it, and then just dig in and work on fixing that and learn what you need to learn in order to solve that problem. But that's more of a method, not exactly what to read to accomplish that. Okay, now I have an encoded thing. I'm just going to go ahead and run it and see what happens. I'm sure that it doesn't really work like this either. Weird server reply. But now I want to do this. So the server is still stupid. It can only handle one request, but I haven't done any GDB today, right? So let's do GDB. Bam. Here's the publish. So okay, here we get the and if you want to, have you seen this funny thing in GDB? I could do layout next here. Boom, and then we can see the code in GDB. Maybe that's more streaming friendly. So we can see that it checks out, and we have the packet byte 0. It's still 0, so we don't have any packet ID len. The packet ID len is then 0, I hope. Well, this isn't new. This is actually the old layout thing in GDB. The thing that is exist. I saw this talk at FOSDEM 2020 about the GDB maintainer talked about it, and he talked about this. They call it the TUI, the text UI, and he talked about this is the old one, and he talked about how nobody likes this, and they're actually rewriting it nowadays. But this is still the old one. So I had no idea it existed until I saw that talk. So here it is. You can actually go through different layouts. And they're rewriting it, so it's actually becoming even more fancy in the future, but still. So this is this shows the code like this in the little box. Okay, so remlen. Oh, right. 41 bytes. 1 bytes. Yeah, might be right. 41 bytes. I think it's more to that, because I think at least the way sorry, I don't remember his name, the maintainer of GDB, but he basically said that it was more of a forgotten area of the code that nobody has touched for basically 20 years. So at least that was the impression I got. So I think it was more like nobody has really cared about it, and it's n curses and everything, so nobody likes it even. So apparently n curses is a really annoying API. That's my takeaway from that talk. But they're still doing it, even if it's payload len. Right, and it's pretty limited, I think, too. But according to that talk, then they're actually refreshing it and making it much more fancy going forward. So I'm not sure exactly when they're landing that stuff, but maybe then at some point soon GDB will be more fancy for when it's like it looks. I have to agree that when I show you GDB like this, it's more beautiful to actually see the code in a little box like this than the raw GDB interface. Okay, I'm just going to look payload len 36. So okay, it parses the publish fine. And now you see my screen got all messed up, so well, not all. Okay. So client write. And I need to make sure that we sort of show the right stuff to the debug callback as well. I thought we did that. I'm going to. Maybe we don't. So where? But okay, it seemed to be that it wanted more publish. Why did it do that? All right, so let's do this. Read code. That's what we read publish, and then I want to output this as well. Okay, we're at 2 hours, and well, I have gotten some stuff done, but it's certainly not at the test case yet. And as you can see, it's a pretty slow process, partly because I don't know MQTT. Boom. Five bytes. like a broken output somehow. This is random payload. Okay. This is random. "36 bytes, and it adds a new line to it. So it saves the payload at least. Okay, that means we agree on that much, server client, but should just wrote 45 bytes, publish, bloop. So it'll just sit there now, I guess, and read more publish. Since that's MQTT style, right? So it subscribes to this topic, and now it just sits there and waiting. All right, and it gets stupid because I just closed the connection. So if I wanted to, okay, so let's say I published just one, and then I want to disconnect, and then again here there's a disconnect packet, I believe. There's a connect. There's a disconnect. Yeah, that's 2 bytes, and all of them are fixed. 14 and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, I can do that. I'm going to copy another function, like the ACK function. Small enough. Call it disconnect. Disconnect, and let's see the 0 there. Disconnect. There, disconnect. Disconnect FD. So let's try it. Publish, then disconnect. Oh, the spec says 14, but I prefer hexadecimal in that regard. So if we run the server, we run the client, it'll probably still say weird server reply because I don't know what it expects there. But we can see here it is, receive data, that's the disconnect. So it should handle it, I think. I'm still curious about this weird layout here, because I mean 6F, it is 00, but why? I'll look at that another time. Let's look at this now. So now it might be a client thing, right? So it got this sub. We're in sub wait. If we are in sub wait and we get a disconnect instead, we figure that out here. If we get publish, if we are expecting if packet 0 is MQTT disconnect, and here again I didn't have it to disconnect in this source file. So if we get a disconnect instead of a publish, I need to change state, I think, too. Done. Let's see if we can do this. So yeah, then if it got disconnect, then we're done for now. Comparison is always false because packet is I'm a fan of actually doing like this, the pointer to the indexed array entry rather than using arithmetic. New packet. Then I get another pointer. Okay, disconnect. I could write its own disconnect. Oh, it'll do that if in the other direction, right? We'll get to that. Dot disconnect. Okay. A little bit unnecessary, but okay. start the server, run the client. Boom. Still weird. Server reply. Obviously it didn't say what I wanted to say. Oh, right. One. That's a connect message. What? Where's that from? Does the server it sends that in the end? Does it send too much? I think it does. Stupid server. Packet length. Packet length is exactly, yeah, they're already included. One packet type byte, possibly two more for packet ID. Yep, so it sent 2 bytes of rubbish at the end. So this then. Ha! Got disconnect. And it says zeros everywhere, but okay. It's not perfect, but it exited with a 0. And it got data and it stored it. 1119, yep. So it stored it in the file and the file is fine. Not too shabby. That's a subscribe request over MQTT from the server. I wonder what the server thinks about that. If I do it again. It works even repeatedly now. So as long as I behave, the server behaves, I think. That's also good. Okay, cool. Good step. I think I will commit something here before I mess everything up. Fix up the MQTT server. Oh, that was just a typo. Fix up typos. So now everything is committed. Cool. Let's see if I can make a test case out of everything. That could be a lot of fun. So okay, a short break for a little coffee refill. I'll be back in a minute. Hang on. So you know, when people say how to do this the correct way, they say you should really not drink things in close proximity to your mic because it gives sounds and that the audience doesn't want. But hey, this is live coding, right? So we need coffee. I hope you got your refill. Now I would really like to get at least one test case for this going, because then I'll be in a shape to make a first work in progress pull request out of this, because then I have sort of accomplished at least sort of a little bit more than the original patch did. Exactly. You can hear me slurping coffee and uttering weird noises and doing silly mistakes in my code. What an awesome Thursday, right? Okay, so back to this. I'm trying to figure out how to do things. It's actually an Arabia roast, I think. I'm not a coffee snob. I just go with whatever we have at home. So sort of whatever is fast and black and coffee is fine for me. Okay, so I need the little server here to... I could just tell you that, you know, the test suite here is actually, you know, everything is under the tests directory. So yeah, crazy colors on a pink background, but it doesn't matter. In the tests directory, there's a server directory where most of the test servers are located, and this particular MQTT server is there as well. And in the test data directory, there are test cases, right? So then they're all prefixed with test and then the number, and there are hundreds of them in there, 1,300, 1,400 of them. And test 1 is then, of course, the absolutely first test case. And the test 1 is basically a semi-XML format for what the test does, right? So it's some keywords, that's just keywords, and then sort of the server should reply this. Here's which server that should run, and the name of the test, the command line that should be run for the test, and what we should verify after the test has ran, really. Okay. And so the point here being that we use a number 1 is the test case. So when we use SHP, then it equals get/1 to the test server, and it'll return data from test 1. So in this case, I want to make a topic. I want to make the topic the test number. So if we do a subscribe to topic number with an MQTT, that'll be the test number. And we will read that test file and return data according to that test number file, describing how to do this thing here. So, where am I? I'll just go back and I started this little document about MQTT status. I'm just gonna make sure that I haven't forgot anything. I want to write a server and create a few tests. That's my 2 first steps. So I have the server now, for at least for the subscribe. So I'll not too bad. I did the server in what? It's been 2.5 hours now, and I did a few hours yesterday. Not too bad. Let's see. I will compare part, I believe it's called. Test to file. I don't remember exactly how we did this. That's the function we want. Basically creates a file name. But which function loads the stuff? That's the way we do it. I wrote all this, I just can't remember. Been a while. Since, and also often because I do like this, I copy and paste from my old code when I do the new code. And then I don't remember how I did it. Okay, so basically we get a subscribe. Maybe, you know, getting the test number from the subscribe topic is possibly okay, but then we don't know the test number before we get the topic, so we can't do anything sort of special case before the subscribe. But okay. I can deal. I think we can live with that to start with at least. So okay. Here's a topic. Should do like this. Test number. We get it from the topic and we don't care where it ends. And we want to do this, and the file name should be a short pointer, I'm pretty sure. We should include I think it's called test node, should be a wrong make. Variable file name set but not used. There it is. I should do like this, get part, I believe it's called. First, if it fails to get a number, we can do the default thing. If it gets a number, we get the part that's called data. Open the file name, get the part, and here we need to make sure that we use this function. Get part is basically the XML parser thing. It's not really XML, it's more like XML lookalike. And it's command size. Right, that's the pointer there is pointing to the data. And count, what's count? Oh, that's the size of the data that we get. An error. Okay. What happens if we build this? We get some. Let's call it data. Oops. Size t data len. Data len. You don't use it anywhere, so okay. That's fine. Wait a minute. Publish. Payload. This will, instead of that, send data. And let's use data len as well. Let's just send something silly default for the test server when we don't send in a number. Okay, let's just try to build this now. Too many arguments to publish, yes, because it payload len. Error not used. Okay, but still. What happens if we run? Need to run it in the right directory. And we now need to, we want to make our own tests now. And we want to use a number that we haven't used before, so let's see what is available. Pick a number. I think we are going with, what are we going with? It's usually good to pick a number range that is not too likely. I mean, I could go with the next one in a number range, but that's also likely that someone else will go with. So I often do things like this. Let's go with test 1190. And of course, now I say this on a video, so now you all have the chance to pick the same number in your patches, and we can all have collisions and see which one goes first. So 1190. That's I think that's random enough. 1190, and let's start with MQTT MQTT subscribe, perhaps. These are just keywords. We can make them up to be whatever we want. I know a lot of projects use names in the test cases, so they just have to be creative. But then you get very long file names, and you pretty much end up with the same problem anyway. So what names should I use to call my test? So we have numbers. I think it works pretty good. Okay, they have to be unique, and if many people are working on pull requests at the same time, there's a risk that you actually pick the same number, and we have to sort of fight it out who's going to pick which number, but it's not a big problem. But selecting what kind of data to send in an MQTT response, that's really difficult. So I will go with hello. Yep, hello. Server, we need an MQTT server, and this is going to be MQTT subscribe, that's the name. And the 1190 and not MQTT, this is going to be hard to MQTT:// and it's not going to be hot HTTP port, it's going to be MQTT port. Well, I need test numbers, so they actually have to be decimal numbers. It can't be that complicated. And actually, I think they should be below 10,000 as well, at least for now, because I think we have something that will fail when we go above 10,000. So before we reach 10,000, we need to reconsider stuff. But we're at 1,300 now after 20 years, so maybe we'll survive a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm actually pretty good at producing random file names accidentally with very weird control characters. Usually when I try curl in different weirdo things. Okay, but we're not. Oh, right, this is fun. We need to verify the protocol part, but we really don't do that. We don't have any protocol output from curl when it speaks. That is the header stuff. That is why we need to. And the header, and since it's binary, I need to. I actually learned a really good way to clean up fun file names actually. From my directory, like this. I use them pick them up in Emacs, because in the Emacs debuffer they're shown escaped, and I can just press D and execute like this. If I want to remove this, D and X, and it's gone. And it works even for file names with really funny control characters, or starting with spaces or dots or all sorts of fun things. So I've actually managed to remove some of my really crazy ones, like this really shouldn't be there. Okay, so MQTT, host IP, MQTT port 1190. So this is a very bare bones test, of course. It doesn't have anything really. It doesn't verify protocol, and I need to consider how to do that properly. And of course, this right now doesn't work as a proper test case, but if I run this and I run curl and I ask for 1190, what happens? Ha! Look at that. So it's pretty good. We got the 1190 output. We get 2 new lines because curl right now terminates the payload with a new line by itself, which I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'll leave it right now. but right now, if we would sort of let the test suite test what we said, it'll fail, right? Because hello and a new line is not matching what's in the file. It's hello and 2 new lines. But that's a good first test, right? If we get that far, I'll be really happy. Because now, now. Let's get into adding. This is a fun step of Perl programming. Adding a server to the test suite. Yes, I did this a while ago when I added the socks D thing. So I'll copy the start the socks server function. Runtests.pl is a Perl script that runs all test cases, and it then starts the necessary servers locally and makes sure that they're up, and it can kill them afterwards and everything, and then runs. So that's why the server in each individual test case specifies which server it needs, so that the test script can then fire up the correct server on the right port and everything. Proto MQTT, and if done correctly, we can also run servers on both IPv4 and IPv6 so that we can verify both properly. And it stores PID files for the process IDs because it's Perl, so that it can kill them again after we're done. The server MQTT port number, PID file, backend. There's a config. I haven't written support for that yet, but the config file is a way for a test case to send commands to the server. So we can ask the server to behave in a particular way. Like if you run test case 1192, do crazy things to the response, and then we make sure that curl handles those crazy things the correct way. Run, done. Okay, a lot of copy paste there, but it seems to be pretty fine. And run socks server. Not sure that is still correct. So we will make sure that we have a MQTT. Is it running already? MQTT server, failed starting MQTT server, MQTT. As you can see, yeah, make tests is fine, but make tests is you do that in. That's when you want to run tests, more like, yeah, you want to run the test to make sure everything is still fine while developing or while sort of debugging them. Run tests purely is, I think, is much more convenient, especially like you want to run it with GDB or you want to run it and verify exactly what happened. Then I go back to plain old run tests. Okay, now I might not be right yet because I've forgotten some things like HTTP port. It should be a variable for MQTT port. And this is for, so when we write test cases we can use variables like this % and a variable name, and it'll replace it with the contents of the actual live port number, so that we can do tests that sort of use the port number and without them knowing beforehand which port number it is. Not sure we need it for MQTT, but still. And we need to set it up here, right? So we need, as I mentioned, I wanted to make sure that we don't need to do it like this, but for now we'll use the same approach as the others. So we use quite a lot of number of ports. Yes, thank you. Did I do that more? Was it just there? I think it was there, right? MQTT port. Okay. I'll just, if I just verify that it can still run test 1. Test 1 is HTTP. So 1190. What happens? Unsupported protocol. Well, that's a good start, right? Server help. Oops. Here's a long list of supported protocols. Let's add MQTT there. Proto. Let's the server. We need server. We need the server, but we also need the client support. And this is, I don't never ever really remember exactly. Feature, right? We can, features can be. So, okay, so the client feature could be like this. Client features, MQTT. So we need MQTT as a feature in the client as well as running the server. Since it's experimental and not enabled by default, this might be a good idea. Okay, so MQTT. So we use some option that it doesn't support, I guess. And 186 doesn't run. PID file. Server name ID. Unspecified PID file. Ha! Look at that. Okay, cool. So yeah, that proves that the test it actually loaded the right contents, and it's returned from test 1190, and it failed on the verification of the data because curl actually right now outputs a new line, which arguably it shouldn't, I guess. Here it is, add a new line for readability. Nah, let's not add a new line for readability. Rebuild. Do, 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 1190 again, and zip, memory failure. That's exactly why we want the test cases, right? It's a memory still allocated. Right, but adding things, if you get data from a server, adding a new line to that data, it seems, I don't know, it seems like the wrong decision to do. So I'm sure that in many cases you will just get some raw binary thing from MQTT servers. Okay, so we need to free the packet. Why doesn't it free the packet? I know why. I think. Do I? Okay, if result go to fail, if it fail, la 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 la. Okay, so it doesn't free the packet. Why? Well, that curl safe free is it's a function that this one is pretty much first you don't have to check if packet is null or not null because it deals with null by itself. So and basically the safe free will also clear the pointer after the free. So, but in this case, this is a local pointer and it is going to exit here. So it's just completely unnecessary to clear the pointer when we're going away here. But okay, this so yeah, so this verify what this test case done exactly. It found the first issue with the MQTT code. So I'll just run it again. And what is interesting here is that I think, yeah, so this is the internal memory leakage system that points it out. But and if that hadn't shown it, Valgrind would have caught it because Valgrind also reports that, and it actually reports 146 bytes instead, because it also includes the overhead that the internal memory debugging system uses. So yeah, so then here's my one of my favorite feature with run tests, and why I use run tests like this is I run it with GDB. So I do like this. Here's the malloc. It's done on MQTT line 370. That's this line. So I'll set the breakpoint on MQTT.c130 and I'll run it. And let's do this fancy thing. What? What did I end up? Why did I end up there? I didn't really watch my step here. Because I did it completely wrong, right? Break MQTT. I'm a bit slow to this. I want to write HTTP all the time. There, run, and then layout, next. Okay, that's the alloc. And we have a packet allocated. And what does it do? It'll debug. Ha, I know what it is. Okay. I think fail is a wrong name here, so let's call it end. So I'll go to end there so that I free the packet on in the exit path. So rebuild curl, rerun the test. Boom. Get 1190. It works. Boop. Woohoo! 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And I have my first test case working. Not too bad. Okay, I had to change quite a lot to get that test case going, but okay, pretty cool. Okay, this is a first shot at the test case at least. So what I'm right now the least happy with is that I don't output any protocol details here, so that I can verify that the protocol did right. And this, and if I would change if I would change some of the stuff to maybe call it a header instead of a data. What does it look like then? I might have to do something to handle binary headers basically, or trace. Receive header 5 bytes. Why doesn't it start? Okay. I need to figure out how to deal with the busy right. This is not data, this is everything is headers except the data is only the actual payload. I think it makes more sense. That was the data. Okay. I think I'm going to clean this up and make a pull request to make sure to just get the build machines to tell me how many mistakes I've done so far. And rebase. Fix up, fix up, fix up. There, cleaned up a little bit. Okay. That was cool. Okay, we're ready. Here's first. It's not the first, actually, since, as I said, this was already done here at 3514 by Björn. But now I'll do it again. Yes, but I'm stealing Björn's work, but I still have him as author of the first client, the curve patch, so I'm trying to still give him credit for it, because he actually wrote the first part, even if I've polished it a little bit since then. What should I write here? wanted to say something about what's missing. What's it called? It's called the other way. When you do post, it test publish, verify the protocol part in test cases, test publish. Experimental, I'll emphasize experimental too. Verify the product part in the test cases, test, publish. Yeah, I looked at Mosquito because when I looked at if I should rather build on that instead of writing my own test server. So yeah, there seem to exist test servers, but I'm sure we'll get around to that too. So yeah, it certainly makes sense to make sure that curl can actually talk to real MQTT servers as well, not only my mock-up test server. Well, I'll add it as a checklist item then. Test it against real servers. I don't have any real servers. I don't have any MQTT stuff myself. But I hope that someone else has and can help out and try it out. And I mean, early days, right? So I'm sure that it'll be a lot of mistakes. We also, what should I call fix their the busy sending it's really and handle E again. I think it's going to be easier to fix those things when we have proper test cases for the stupid things, and then we can rewrite some of the internals easier. Boom. That's at least the first shot. So there it is. 3 hours 14 minutes since I started this today. Pretty good. I think I need to call it an end of stream today, because I'm going to need some lunch now and just enjoy having this PR. I'm sure it'll point out a bunch of problems soon. Thanks to Mark, we have a lot of CI builds here now. So yeah, maybe I'll be back tomorrow with continuing. I think so. That could be fun. I want to work on the other direction, right? To subscribe and add test cases for that, and maybe add test cases for the protocol things. So right now I think I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, at 9, and have a morning session tomorrow again. But I'll let you know. Probably do that. And now lunch, and have a good day, everyone. See you around.